That's right. Welcome in, welcome back. Folks, we're getting it cranked back up for game week. All right. We have a game again. It is time to start ramping back up the energy because we got a big ball game out in the wild Las Vegas desert land, folks. Here's how I'm going to start this. First off, good morning. The regulars are here. Paul, as usual, there you are, early and often with the donation. I love you, Paul. Taking care of my phone lines. I appreciate you. Paul's in here. Chris Totten, Brian Denbo, David Knight, Matt Miller, the regular crowd. I appreciate you guys. I see Dr. John on the phone already. I'm going to get to him early. I promised him. Senior citizens jump the line. That's the rule. It's like McDonald's around here. You get a discount. John asked for that treatment. Loyal caller, always looking out for my blood pressure. We're going to get him on the phone lines early today, folks. 312-900-8815. I want you to give me a call. What are you wanting to see from Notre Dame out of the bye? What do you think we're going to see from Notre Dame out of the bye? Those may be the same thing. They may be different things. I want to know where you're at. So let me know. Give me a call, okay? Chris Totten, good morning, John, and all you crazies. If you're starting your day here, you might just be crazy, folks, but I love it. I love this little group, and it's growing. I love it. Angela, good morning. I miss you. How are you? That's a Rudiger up in the chats. You got to have a Rudiger in the chats. It's just a rule, okay? Notre Dame style. Got to have a Rudiger in here. Good to have you, Rudy. Good morning. So here's the first thing, folks. Here and I got to get this out of the way. It is weird me calling you Angela. My whole life of 25 years, I've known this woman, Angela Rudiger. I called her Rudy exclusively for 20 years in a row. I never called her Angela. It was only on paper. It looked weird. And I've called her Rudy my whole life for 25 years. It's just, she's a Rudiger. Like, she gets it. I get it. It's never been weird for me to think about till I see her name typed up as Angela. But you know I love you. Thanks for being here. Miss you. Here's where we're starting, folks. I didn't even get through the introduction yet. Here's where we're starting. Somebody's going to have to back me off the ledge I'm on. And the ledge I'm on is a ledge called, wait for it, I feel like this is a really good matchup for Notre Dame. I fully expect them to run in here, push BYU around, and win this ball game. And I feel good about it. And that's causing me a lot of anxiety. That's not in my nature. If you followed my program for a while, and a lot of you have, a lot of you have been here and on Twitter for years, a handful of years for some of you. You'll know we get burned by Notre Dame all the time. Every time you jump in and believe, you get burned. The next corner. It's tough. I believe they're going to play good in the desert. I think it's a favorable matchup. I believe BYU can be gotten up front on both sides of the ball. And I just do. And this positivity is causing me anxiety. On the flip side, if I didn't feel good about this coming out of the bye in the desert, I would also have anxiety. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to have anxiety. It's just a matter of over what. This is a good matchup, you guys. They're 4-1. I believe in the AP poll, they're ranked 16th. It's a good matchup for Notre Dame. I have watched other teams run on them all over. Wyoming, BYU. These are teams that were able to almost rack up 100 yards in the first quarter rushing. BYU outgained Utah State by a total of 5 yards in their last ball game. You're telling me Notre Dame shouldn't be able to go in there and push them around and dominate? Come on, man. Come on. So that's where I'm at. I feel excited about it, and it's giving me anxiety, and I'm going to be bitterly disappointed if it's a struggle fest all week. I'm serious. I expect them to go in there and play well. So that being said, let's get through the introductions. I got off there, and then I got one other topic I got to bring up. It's popping up the last day or two. We're going to have to go over, see what you guys think. YouTube, obviously, you're all here. You know you can find the program on YouTube. Do it, subscribe if you haven't yet. Give the video a thumbs up if you're in the chat or whatever. It does help me in the search algorithm for people to find it. Give it a thumbs up. Notifications on so you don't miss anything. Twitter, search bar, Always Irish, rat, Always Irish Inc. Emails, alwaysirishindy@gmail.com. Audio only, anywhere you want me, you can get me, except for on these because they're too long and they won't let me transfer it into MP3. So you're going to have to look at my face if you want to look at this for audio only. Well, I guess not. Put it on YouTube and then turn away. Then you don't have to see me. I don't blame you. Okay. Call in line, of course, 312-988-15. Fighting Irish Wire, folks. Make it a regular stop of your day. Don't just read my stuff. Everybody contributes and does a good job there. Okay. So check that out. Got a couple phone calls here. I'm going to get to the super chat, then the phone calls, okay? Dr. John, you're up first. Promises kept. Promises kept. Let's go. Where was it? Paul, you're up first. $15. I appreciate you with the donation. Means a lot. I believe we'll know if we have an offense after this next game. This is a game that tells us a lot. Listen, here's how I look at it, Paul. Very good point. Here's how I see this practically speaking. None of us can undo what early September was and what that trickle down has done to the high end of what this season can be. Nobody can undo it, okay? Ohio State was its own deal. You could have lived with dropping that one. The Marshall one's just a killer. It's just a killer. It's that dreaded second loss in September. And so we can't undo that misery and how bad it was. But what Notre Dame can do is win this game, and it sets you up to salvage whatever's left to be salvaged out of this already disappointing year. Follow me. Does that make sense? Like the year isn't going to, even if we win the rest of our games, the year's not going to be where we want it to be because those two losses haunt you. So what I'm saying is, to maximize the next level of whatever's good from the point we are here, you got to have this ball game. You got to have this ball game. And I expect us to win it by double digits. I just do. I think it's a good matchup for Notre Dame. I could be proven to be an absolute idiot. Wouldn't be the first time. And depending on who you talk to, they might say that's all the time. But you find a way to win this game. And then look at the run you have then. You have Stanford. Wipe that smirk off David Shaw's stupid face. I hate that guy and his stupid smirk. You be beating Stanford by 3 scores, and David Shaw is a smirk over there like he's up to something. All right? So beat the smirk off that guy's face, and I'm surprised there's not heat on him, except for the fact that Stanford doesn't care about football. But they have tanked. Knock his smile off his dumb face. UNLV, I want to be like, it's UNLV, you should win. Well, I said that about Marshall too. So you have UNLV, and then you have Syracuse at the Dome. It's weird playing in the Dome. They're undefeated now, but they play Clemson before they play us, so they probably won't be undefeated. Opportunity there. You need to build yourself a bridge to undefeated Clemson with 2 losses. All that I just said is getting me to that point. That is the mission right now. It's the best you could do to build the rest of this season up to be something exciting when you have 2 losses. It ain't going to work with 3, especially against these teams we have coming before Clemson. That's the only acceptable roadmap from where we're at right now. We can't undo early September. But we're far enough down the road here. You have a bye. I need you to come out and look like a better, more put-together team. Knock off this win. Rip off a couple more get ready for that weird Carrier Dome experience. It's weird playing there. Teams, it's just a weird environment. And so that's the path. And it starts here. You have to have it. You have to have it. I expect us to look good. And it makes no sense. I just think Notre Dame found themselves a little bit. And I think that the culture, I think they just needed to find a little belief and needed to see practical evidence that they are capable of playing good. Now they have it. Now they've seen it. It should have energized all the bye preparation. Everybody should be in a better mood. I think they're going to come out ready to go in those white uniforms and play well. And Jaron Hall, their quarterback, he's going to make plays. He's going to make plays, some. But I think Notre Dame can push them around up front to where Notre Dame can power run the ball. I need 250 to 300. I'm not exaggerating. Do you see me laughing? I need 250 to 300 on the ground. If you're telling me Wyoming and Utah State are running it for almost 200, I need you to do better than that because you should be better than them. Bully them around up front, run the ball, expand on that little passing game. You found something on in North Carolina. It can't be the same thing. You need to expand off it. People are going to jump them routes. They weren't born yesterday. You're not going to be able to dink and dunk all the time. Expand that. On defense, stuff them up so they can't run the ball. Put that quarterback in third and long, then go hunt. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. They have not been able to run the ball on anybody. They shouldn't be able to do it against you. And then the quarterback can make plays, but you put him in third and long, you're going to win a lot of those battles. That's my roadmap. That's my roadmap. I don't know why, but I feel good about it, and I hate myself for it. It's uncomfortable. I'm not used to sitting here saying I feel good about Notre Dame. Talk me off the ledge or tell me I'm on the right ledge for once. It's awkward. I'm feeling weird. John, you're coming up. Hang with me. Matt Miller, I don't feel good about anything Notre Dame related until 0 at the end of the fourth quarter. Hey, Matt, you're always here. I appreciate you. You're always on Twitter, too. It's good to have you. Here's what I'm going to throw at you. I don't even think what you said applies. You know when I felt good about Notre Dame? When the clock hit 0, push. I felt great about Notre Dame when the clock hit 0 and Notre Dame had beaten USC and Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart and the poodle-haired Pete Carroll. The clock said 0. Notre Dame won that day, and it still didn't work out. So even when the clock said 0 and Notre Dame's ahead, not so fast, my friend. The ultimate not so fast, my friend. Oh, my God. Couldn't even get away with that one. We got a good chat here. Arnie Torres. Good morning, John. LA Domer checking in. Most entertaining show on YouTube. Keep up the great work. Arnie, I really appreciate that. And I know you said in another chat, I think you just found me. Thanks for being here. And he also said, I don't think anybody could rival my passion till I discovered you, and I'm 56. I appreciate that, Arnie. Like I tell everybody, it's not a choice. This is who we are. And I tell everybody that, and I have my whole life when they go, how can you let Notre Dame get to you this much? John, lighten up or don't care as much. It is not a choice. And to the people that applies to, you know exactly what I mean. If you're a Notre Dame person from a Notre Dame family, it is not a choice. It is not a light switch I can flip on and off how to feel. No. It's not. It's more serious than that. It's a lifelong genetic condition, for better or worse. We're all going to be here, and it's never going to end until I stroke out live on this show, and then you guys will just know it's over. That's how this goes. Oh, but Arnie, thanks for being here. Really appreciate that. 612 first, 818 coming up after that. You guys are the first two up. Tony Wozniak, good to see you here. Reese said yesterday, I saw this. This is on my bullet points to mention. Reese said yesterday he wanted to get Merriweather in against UNC, and they have a package for him, but it just didn't work out. Why can't they let him just play? Why do you need a special package? That was my initial thought, too. I saw that on Twitter, and he said we had a package of plays, but the presentation wasn't there with what the defense was giving us, so it just didn't work out. Here's the deal. I know I'm not an expert. I'm not a hot and up-and-coming NFL coach like Tommy Rees. I know all that. I told you guys, this isn't an X's and O's shows. If you want that, you're going to get some of it, but not a lot. I don't act like I'm an expert in that. What I'm an expert at is talking to you guys about how Notre Dame football makes you feel in your life. That's my wheelhouse. Quite frankly, there's a lot more fun angles there than discussing, the benefits of this defense, dime versus nickel. But that's just me. It's just, I'm not a coach, but it seems like some of this, we make it harder than it has to be. I see young quarterbacks and young receivers out there just reacting and making plays because they're good athletes, learning along the way in ball games all over the country every week. And there are quarterbacks and receivers you've never heard of that don't even have a ranking on 247 that can figure out how to make connections and make it look like you're in rhythm. Notre Dame is making it look harder than it has to be. Get on your TV, change the channel, these other games. Teams that have nowhere close to our talent have functional passing games. It's a concern, and one of the bigger ones that's going to live with us this year. And there's no easy way out. You got to recruit out of it, and it ain't going to be easy. So, oh boy. All right, let's get to, we have some other good chats here. We'll get back to it. I want to get John in early. 612, what do you want to do?
Hey, top of the morning to you, lad.
Oh, top of the morning to you, John. Hey, I feel really good about this, man. Tell me, am I losing a sense of who I am? I feel like there's a great opportunity here for Notre Dame, and I think they might be ready for it.
Well, I actually, I'm on your side on this one, but before I get to the game, I got some other business I got to take care of here.
Okay.
I'm calling on Wednesdays because I know Monday and Friday is pretty technical stuff, and I figured it's a little more relaxed on Wednesday. I don't have to do a lot of doctoring,
Yeah.
So,
especially off a bye. Especially off a bye.
Yeah. Well, speaking of doctoring, my attorney advised me to make a statement, and she wrote it up for me. I'm just going to read it to you, okay?
All right.
Okay, here's the statement. While I use the call-in name, Dr. John, while interacting with John M. Kennedy, host of the YouTube channel show Always Irish, I equivocally state that I am not a medical doctor of any kind, and I have never portrayed one on television. So that we got that out of the way.
All right.
Legal, I won't get sued.
Yeah. Legal disclaimer.
All
so
right.
If I have a problem, my family can't find you and blame your bad medical advice. We're covered. You're smart. You're covered, my friend. You're good.
Okay. All right. Now, the reason I was trying to do a little brogue at the beginning, I booked my flight to the Notre Dame Navy game in Ireland. Yeah, I booked it yesterday. So
beautiful.
Anyway,
that'll be fantastic.
Let's do some football here. Before I get to the game, where did this term quarterback room come from? With this room stuff. When did that start? I don't remember that from my youth.
I don't know when they started doing that. I mean, what did they call it when you were growing up? Just the quarterback group? Like, I guess that's what that means.
They just call it that's the quarterbacks. And the reason I'm bringing it up is, and I don't want to disparage Angeli because we haven't seen him play, but he was number 43 on the recruiting list. And my question is, why does it take to number 43 before we can get a quarterback?
John, you're hitting on a main issue. and you're hitting on an issue that needs to be resolved, or the Freeman era is never going to get where we want it to be. And I mean that sincerely. These are all Reese's guys too. Didn't Reese want these guys? Buckner and Pine specifically, I know, are hand-picked Reese guys. He wanted both them guys. Those are his dudes. He hand-selected. I don't know. Does he see things we don't see? Was he not able to recruit quarterbacks the way he wanted under Kelly? Maybe that'll change now. I don't know. But I asked that question too.
We offered 2 in the top 10, and I don't know. I don't recall where they went now, but gosh, getting all the way down to 43, I just don't understand that. So
it's frustrating.
Anyway.
It is. It's frustrating. But let me throw something else at you too. Here's what else is frustrating. You're talking about the number of, how far down the list you have to go for Notre Dame to get a quarterback. I'm also bothered when I see guys that aren't on that list at all throwing the ball around every Saturday. There's a bunch of those guys. And they all find a way to run functional passing offenses. It's just beyond a little frustrating.
Well, and of course, not being privy to what their grades are and all that kind of stuff, it's a little hard to tell why not. But anyway, BYU. Well, it brings to mind something you did. I can't remember what show it was, but you were evaluating defense and offense. I think it was last Friday.
Yeah.
And you said, the offense is about 9,000 miles behind the defense.
Yep.
Does that mean they're between Brisbane and Sydney, Australia? Is that where they are? I don't know.
Yeah, they're on their way.
As close as I could come to a location.
Yeah, they're on the way. Yeah, they're on the way. John, do you expect to see an expansion of this passing game this week? Are we going to see a little more off the bye week? Are they going to grow what worked against Carolina, and we see a little bit more mid-range activity expand a little bit? Isn't that fair to expect coming out of a bye?
I agree. I would see the playbook expanding for Pine. I mean, Pine did a good job. You got to admit that. He did a good job. And now you're up against a team that, well, at first I thought, when they beat Baylor, well, maybe they're not too bad, but then Baylor, sunk down to others receiving votes. So, which we aren't yet.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
But anyway,
I noticed that.
BYU is a 3.5-point favorite. And I suppose it's maybe just because of their ranking. I don't know. But
wait a second. I thought Notre Dame was favored by 3.5 or 4 now. I didn't think it was BYU.
Well,
I thought we were. I think it started out BYU.
I just checked this morning, John. I just checked this morning. Now, I didn't see what the date on that was. But
okay, yeah. I thought that was the other way.
I asked my phone. Can you check as you're sitting there or not?
I might be able to. But I just think we can out-physical them, John. I really do. I do. I see them light up front on both sides, and I think Notre Dame can win the day feasting off that. I truly do.
I do too, and I think if we play like we did against North Carolina and add some wrinkles in there, I don't see any reason why we can't win this game. And again, I don't know if this is going to keep happening, but it's like this is another season-defining game. I mean, we really need to dominate this game to get into that row of what seemed like easy opponents. But, yeah, so I'm looking at we need a real strong performance on Saturday.
Yeah. I'm seeing in the chat Notre Dame anywhere between 2.5 to 3.5. Notre Dame is what people are putting in the chat right now. I do think it started out.
Oh, really?
I think it started out 3 BYU, and then after North Carolina in the bye, it started swinging 3.5. I even saw one at 4. But regardless of the gambling, I just think there's a great opportunity. You have a 4-1 team ranked 16th in the AP, and I think they're ripe for the picking in a lot of ways. And you could go in there and bully them around. Utah State's running the ball almost 200 yards on them. Give me a break. Like we need to be able to just road grade these guys. Let's roll.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's a reminder to the people who are going to watch this game on Saturday. Remember, we're going to be the ones in white.
Yeah, I forget. You know what? I almost forget about that. All of that stuff with the uniforms. Listen, man, I always get asked, John, what do you think about the alternative uniforms? My answer's always the same. As long as you win, I don't care if you're wearing kilts out there. Just win the damn ball game. And I don't care what your decor is. Just win the game, and I'll like whatever you're wearing when you do it.
Yeah, I agree. There have been some pitiful uniforms, but this one's not too bad.
What did you think of the New York Yankee pinstripe pants, John? That's the one that gets people. What did you think of that? The Yankee uniform with the stripes? What did you think of that one?
Well, first of all, I grew up a Brooklyn Dodger fan, so you know how I feel about that.
Yeah, so you know.
But then you got to remember, John, I'm 82. I don't remember what those uniforms look like.
Picture those white pinstripe Yankee home uniform pants on Notre Dame. That's what it looked like. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I don't know.
Now you're making me throw up.
Yeah, there you go. I'm not trying to do that to you. Let me ask you. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What do you think? A lot of this has to do with the offense. What do you want to see from the defense? Take the next step here. We admitted they're closer to where I want them to be than the offense. You looking for more disruption, catch up on the turnovers? We're a little unbalanced on behind in that. Like, what do you want to see from the defense?
Well,
I focus on the offense so much. What do you need them to do this week to be happy? Out of a bye. It's fair to expect a little more after 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would like to see a couple turnovers, but more than that, I'd like to see about 3 sacks.
Yep. And I see Notre Dame bottling up their run game, and I think they're going to end up in 3rd and medium, 3rd and long a lot, and then you're going to put it all on Hall and those receivers, which is the best thing they're good at, is passing the ball. They have a good quarterback, good wide receivers. I just think Notre Dame could eat in that scenario. The kid's going to win some plays, but over the course of the night, I think Notre Dame's physicality on both sides wins this game.
Well, I agree. I think we can win both sides of the ball. And again, it's getting to be a broken record, but it's a game, it's a season-defining game once again.
Man, I hate saying it, but it's true. And the dynamics just change. Like, the best Notre Dame could hope for right now is rip off all these wins and enter Clemson at home where they're undefeated and you still have 2 losses. That is like the next endpoint goal to me. Get to Clemson with only your 2 losses, hope they're undefeated, and then you build yourself a big ball game opportunity at home November 5th.
Well, I agree. I love that scenario. I don't want to run into a Marshall game again.
We have to be past that. We have to be so far past that. The quarterback settled in, like you started to find something offensively. Like, no, we cannot go back in time. Like, that can't, it's not even on the table, John. Can't be. I'm going to lose it. It can't even be on the table doing that.
Well, I can't afford to have you lose it, because then I got to go back to work.
I'll try and keep it together for you.
Okay.
I'll try and keep it.
Please.
And also, John, before I let you run, I wanted to thank you for the picture with the 1977 turf from the USC game. I'm sure you might have saw, I posted it on Twitter, and I did post it on YouTube, a picture of it in the community tab.
Did you?
And everybody got a kick out of it and thought it was the coolest thing. So thank you for sending that to me and the group.
Hey, before I let you go, So I ride an exercycle twice a day, and I usually watching something on YouTube. The other day, what pops up but the no huddle 77 game?
There you go, man. Man, those.
Yeah. So
That's
that
perfect.
was fun reliving it.
That's perfect.
I even spotted the piece of turf I picked up.
Yeah, right there on the screen. That was the one. I know it matches up with that cleat. Perfect. Yeah, that's great. Oh, well, John, enjoy the rest of the week. Enjoy the ball game. I expect good things, and it's freaking me out, man.
Okay, man. I'll watch the rest of the show, and I'll check on you Friday too.
Beautiful. Have a good one, man. Take care.
Okay. You too, John. Bye-bye.
See ya. I'm telling you, man, I like the fact that this guy comes up with an angle every time he calls. And this time it was the lawyer bit. I appreciate it. Josh Miller, $5 super sticker. Didn't even say anything fancy, just donated. I appreciate that. Thank you. I see some of our new chat people are meeting Kent, the resident Ohio State guy. I see him in here. Oh, man. You guys are fun in the chat today. James Thompson, we are Marshall. I'm telling you, James is still here. I'm still not sure whether James loves or hates Notre Dame, but he's here. And hey, he predicted Marshall was going to beat Notre Dame. I don't even think he was serious. I think he was trolling to get my blood pressure up, but it ended up happening. So he looks like a genius, and I can't really say anything. That's the way that goes. Oh my gosh. Dr. John, people like your calls. They really do. Good to see Bruce in here again. Good morning, Bruce. The Format Podcast down in Florida, Jacksonville area, I believe. Go ahead and check the Format Podcast out. 818. We're going on a date. You're on the air.
Hello, John. Good morning. Good morning. It's been a couple calls, or a couple days of call-ins. I haven't called in. I wasn't feeling the best on whatever day it was. And then on Monday, I just overslept.
Hey, you know what, man? You're not beholden to call into me every time you wake up. I understand that. Like, you could sleep in a little bit here and there. What do you?
It's so bad. Check this out. It's actually, this is the way it is for me when I don't call in, or I don't at least catch the beginning. Maybe I missed the first few minutes or whatever. The same way you feel after Notre Dame loss, the same way I feel after missing the show. I will not watch that call-in show. I have spite for myself. I'm like, you don't get to watch that show because you didn't wake up in time or whatever. So it's just a funny little thing I do because there's so much content you're putting out there now that I can actually be somewhat choosy. Before, I had to catch everything. I'm like, okay, John probably talks a lot about this in his top 5 things or things to watch out for this week. Anyway, so there's just a little intro there. By the way, too, Dr. John, and by the way, love his stuff, man. But I'm just a bit disappointed. I actually thought that was a real piece of the turf for 77, and you took a picture of it and put it on YouTube. So I'm like, how could that have happened?
Apparently he ran out there after the game, grabbed it, and took it home, and he's had it since then, and then they won the championship, and it's a beautiful story. Now, the irony in that is I did the same thing during Bush Push because we were down there rushing the field, and when the clocks hit zero, we ran down there. And if you look at the TV film, you'll see people running out there, and then they put the time back on and push everyone off. And they grew out the grass 5.5, 6 inches to try and slow down Reggie Bush on purpose.
I remember.
On purpose.
The Mark Murray, you Holt stuff.
Yep.
The Mark Murray, you Holt stuff. They had those fantastic segments. They would go back and forth, and Mark Murray did that thing. He showed the grass, and I was like, oh my god! When you get the ground level, like when you hear 5 2 inches of grass, it's like from the stands or whatever. You're like, okay, is that how much lower is it really? And then you see it ground level, and it's like, holy mackerel, man!
Yeah.
Hey,
Rodney, you're fuzzy a little bit on the line. I don't know if you're on speaker. It's a little unclear. People are saying you're a little fuzzy.
Oh, man. You know what? I did just switch earpieces the other day because another one took a crap on me. So yeah, I will get a better one for next time. So I'll be a little more. I'll try to be a little slower and a little more articulate purposefully. Did that come through okay?
Yeah, it's a little better now. So what do you make of this, man? After the bye, what were you stewing over, thinking about as Notre Dame had the break? And what do you want to see and expect to see Saturday in the desert?
Well, John, and I'm going to be very slow and clear about this because I know how annoying that can be listening to bad audio. So let me say, I look back to the 2002 USC team for my inspiration. And that's where I'm kind of jumping to here. That was a team, I believe, either finished or started 0-2 or they were 2-2 at the beginning, something like that. And then they went on a run. With Carson Palmer, that's how he won the Heisman that day. I was in the stadium near the 30 or 40-yard line, I think it was, and watched that debacle. And you talk about those moments when a defense, because they had a great defense that year. They truly did, Notre Dame did. And I remember time after time in that game, seeing the guys run from the side or, get a great jump on a blitz, and the split second, the minute second before he could unleash the ball, or before they could get to him, he would unleash the ball for an amazing catch. Another touchdown USC. It happened all game long. They just lit it up. But I remember thinking about that team. I'm like, wow, where USC finished from being whatever, where they were at the beginning. And that was the beginning of the Pete Carroll era. That is what I'm hoping for starting at the desert this week. I think you're right, John. I think we put it all together. I think probably in the first quarter, maybe even through some of the first half, it's a game. BYU is holding strong. I think by the third and fourth quarter, Notre Dame takes over. We're looking at a 3-2 team with a legitimate shot. What I said a few weeks back of going the rest of the way undefeated. Keep in mind, with Clemson being that game that's going to decide. And then I'm also very worried about who we play after Clemson.
So you got Navy, Boston College, then USC.
Right. What was the first one, John, after Clemson?
Navy.
What was that?
Navy.
Yeah. Well, okay. We'll see. I mean, it's just such an emotional game. And again, anyway, I agree with you. I just think that we're going to come out. I don't think it's the final score is going to be it's going to make it look like it was in doubt. I think that early on it may be tough. I really think we always play well, these Shamrock games. We always play well. And I'm looking forward to seeing how the uniforms look. Actually, I actually really like the uniforms.
Yeah, they're not bad. What do you make of the unique environment? Las Vegas, is there anything to that? The distractions that are in Vegas, the spectacle, it being in a weird building. Do you think that matters or not really?
Well, now let me ask you this. I'm assuming it's at the NFL stadium, right?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. I think it's going to be fantastic. Notre Dame always plays well in these games, and I really do think the environment they're in always plays a role in that. This time, though, they're actually, well, I don't know what the line is on the game. What is the line at?
I believe it's up to 3.5 Notre Dame. I've even seen 4 in some places, and I think it started BYU by 3. And over the bye week, now we flipped. People must be feeling better about what Notre Dame did and or worse about what they've seen BYU do. They didn't look great against Utah State, won the game, but they didn't look good to me.
Okay, but BYU is favored?
We're favored. BYU started out being favored, but now it's flipped.
Okay,
yeah, it's
weird.
Yep. Total flip.
Either way, this is definitely, of all the ones I can remember of the Shamrock games, this is probably the toughest matchup. I mean, on paper. But I think the result is going to be very similar to what you think. I haven't really come up with a score yet, but I think they're gonna win handily. Whether it looks like that on the scoreboard or whether they just grind the ball down in that third and fourth quarter, man. I really think this is the beginning. You saw it a couple weeks ago, but I think that's this bye week. This is the beginning of really good things to come. Again, albeit the Clemson USC game and anything along the way that could happen. But got a really good feeling about it, John. I'm going to go now because I'm going to take care of this phone issue before next time. But
all right. I appreciate the phone call.
Have a great show.
Thanks a lot, man. And hey, I don't blame you for taking a little bye week break. We all need that. Good for you, man. Re-energize yourself, pour a cold one, and enjoy the ball game in the desert.
Absolutely, buddy. Take care. Go Irish.
Have a good one. Go Irish. Oh, man. Oh, I got a question for the chat. Maybe some of you are on the boards. Some of you have been reading this. I have not. I have just seen it rumored in tweets. Got a couple messages. Is how serious is Georgia Tech about Al Golden? Is that a real thing? Can't with the scuba diving equipment. That's funny. I've been asked this morning. Somebody said, "Are you going to talk about Al Golden and that Georgia Tech job?" Does anybody have any information about that? Put it in the chat if you've heard it's a real thing. I don't know. Whenever this stuff happens, you guys, I never know if it's just like people throwing out names on a tweet or an article saying, here's who I think might be good for this job versus here's who we know is actually in the mix for this job. Those are two totally different things. And how am I supposed to know if that's true or not? Like, anybody can link Al Golden's name and just put it out there. I don't know how serious or not that is. Honestly, I can see Al Golden being a pretty good fit for Georgia Tech. And what I mean by that is I just think Al Golden's like a good dude who runs things the right way. And I think that's why it didn't work at Miami, folks. Like Temple, right? That's where he was. Fine. I think that's why it didn't work for Al Golden in Miami, because he's actually a decent guy trying to run things right. And that wasn't going to be the way it went at Miami. Not a culture fit. Yeah, as a compliment to Al Golden, he wasn't a culture fit for Miami. Georgia Tech, different story. Totally different story because Georgia Tech's just built different. But the other question I had about this, Savage Dog, good to see you here, man. Good to have my Georgia guy here. The thing with Al Golden, the other thing is, a part of when he was hired at Notre Dame for the defensive coordinator job was, I remember people saying, one thing good about this is people seem to think maybe Al Golden was done chasing head coaching jobs, which would have meant it's pretty low risk to bring him into Notre Dame, let him run the defense. And then you don't have to worry about it being like a younger guy up and coming. You get a couple years out of him and then he's gone. That kind of thing. So another question I have is, does Al Golden even want all of the headache that comes with being a head coach now? Or is he comfortable to just run the defense, do a little recruiting, and then that's it? I don't know about that. Ooh, that's juicy. We got a 707. You're going to be up next. We do have a couple phone lines open. 707, you're up in a minute. This is really interesting. Chris, and this is one of the people that brought this to my attention and asked me about it. Doesn't recall the source, but heard a fantasy rumor that Golden's being looked at for head coach and he'll take Reese with him. See ya. Bye. See ya. I can find myself another defensive coordinator. I can. And the other thing is, Al Golden isn't the most electric recruiter. That was not why he got the Notre Dame defense coordinator job. I'm not saying he's doing a bad job, but Al Golden is not the recruiter naturally that Freeman is. So it was more, we want an old head to be able to control that side of the ball, know what he's doing, seen it all, been around the block, that type of thing. Won the most electric recruiter. We all knew that coming in. Doing fine, but nothing electric where I'm going to cry over his recruiting prowess if he leaves. And if he did that and took Reese with him, guess what? Now you don't have an option. You're getting fresh eyes on the Notre Dame offense and building something different. Where we've been at and are at on offense, I cannot say I hate that idea. So if that happened and it forced your hand to have to redo all this and get new eyeballs on the offense, I don't think that's the worst thing in the world, personally. I don't. Now, you could say, John, what does that do to recruiting then? Like, what if CJ Carr really liked Tommy and that's the only reason that he did that or whatever? I don't know about that. But if you think I'm going to cry if Tommy's gone, I'm not. The other thing is Irish trending brings up a good point. We're already having trouble finding the talent at Notre Dame in quarterback and wide receiver. How much better does that problem get for Reese if he goes to Georgia Tech? Like, look at it that way too. So that's a little weird to me because how are you going to get better players at Georgia Tech if you couldn't get them at Notre Dame? Because don't you got to be smart to get into Georgia Tech too? So that's a really good point. What kind of talent do you think you're going to get down there that you couldn't even get at Notre Dame? Good luck with that. Like, good luck with that. Pat says revamping both an offense and a defense in one offseason, not ideal. It's not, but I think there's enough talent there on defense that you're not going to totally fall apart. Like the defense has enough structure to it and it's defined enough. I think it's resilient enough that the defense could handle that. And on offense, we're not good enough for me to protect Tommy Reese on anything. Are you out of your mind? If you want to be a real offense and score 40 plus a game like Ohio State, then I'll sit here and cry that Tommy might leave. I have not seen Notre Dame run an offense anywhere near good enough that I'm going to have a problem if he goes somewhere else. No. And I'm not trying to be rude, but who are you kidding? Are you telling me that the Tommy Reese Notre Dame offenses have been great? Come on. Ooh, this is another good point. Multiple people had told me this, Jay, that Garrett Riley from TCU, related to Lincoln, by the way, a lot of people have told me that guy's up and rising and should be on the radar. I've had multiple people tell me that. 707, you're up next. Phone lines, some of them are open. Jump on in. We are not Marshall. Reese is straight up a magician. Sells his middle-of-the-road offense is elite. Numbers say otherwise, but he Jedi mind tricks employers with complex language and hearsay. I don't know, folks. Here's the thing. You want to be like, when you're analyzing this, you want to say, all right, not great circumstances. What would the whole Tommy Reese Notre Dame offensive experience look like with a great elite level quarterback, with proper wide receiver weapons to utilize and distribute as you see fit? You ask yourself that, and you're like, how much of this is just like Reese because it's Reese versus the talent and all that? You can ask that question, but then my next question is, isn't Reese involved in all that? He handpicked the quarterbacks we have. The quarterback room right now is his. He wanted Pine. He wanted Buckner. Those are his guys. Kind of need him to perform. Would be nice if Buckner's body was in one piece for a year. I mean, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Let's get back to the phones. 707, you're on the air. Work It Out Wednesday. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, John. I'm just running around here. I listen to your show on my laptop, and I have a terrible battery. So when I have to do some running around like this morning, I call in so that I can hear the show while I'm getting ready.
Yeah, no, that works because that's a good point. If you're on a hold, you hear the show through what you're listening on, right? It's that simple, just like a regular radio show, right?
Exactly. But what I would say was I listened to your uploaded your podcast about recruiting and NIL and all those frustrations from yesterday that you uploaded. And I think the only thing they have really, but of course the NCAA has no backbone to do anything. They're just fat cats getting paid every month, biweekly, whatever it is. But if they just stop people, again, go back to if you transfer, you sit out, and now include the NIL deal. You don't get to have NIL for a year. As you're sitting out, you don't get to play the next year just to go to someplace else. And you stop the NIL with that as well. So that'll make it a little bit more difficult of a decision to leave after you don't play for 3 games,
Yeah, it's really tough. And I try not to be an old guy, and old in my thinking and rigid in the way I'm used to consuming college football. It's a sign of the times, and I understand that the players want more autonomy. Why do the coaches get to be these emperors up in these towers and they make all the decisions? The players can't do what they want. I get all that. I just wonder, where's a point to where it gets too loose to where you can't structure anything and run it the right way, because everything's moving all the time and it's never settled. And we're in a constant space of that transition all the time. I just wonder where that line is. And I'm open to the answer just being, John, you're old. This is the way it's going. The players have the power now. They move around, get with it. And I get that. But even if I get with it, I need Notre Dame to get with it. And that's the next issue. Even if I can handle all this, how does Notre Dame handle it? The transfer stuff doesn't help Notre Dame. Doesn't help Notre Dame. USC, Brian Kelly, 22 dozen guys. They flipped their roster overnight in the transfer portal. Notre Dame can't do that. There are big picture things here that are in the way.
Yeah, USC, is that who you just said about doing that?
Yep. And I mean, they got, and I know Brian Kelly did it too. I think you can flip a ton of spots with that transfer thing if you could get the guys in. Notre Dame can't just open that door. So they got to be way more accurate in recruiting because you don't have that leeway.
Yeah, well, I think, Saban, the king of all recruiting, is also against these kids being able to just, willy-nilly go whatever way you're feeling.
Well, of course he is. Think about it. Think about it, man.
Like,
it makes sense that he's against it because he's the one who loses the most power of anybody in this dynamic. It makes sense to me he's against it because the old way, he got all the best talent and then controlled all of it. Had guys on lockdown where they couldn't leave and they kind of had to wait their turn. Couldn't just leave on a dime and go play. I get why Saban probably doesn't like it because even with the power he has a little less in this dynamic. So I actually get why he doesn't like it, even though because he's been the main emperor in charge.
Yeah, but I get the feeling from him is that he really doesn't care because, whether kids give him a verbal or not, at the end of the day, if he gets the other players that he wants, he doesn't care if these kids that committed to him stay. He's looking to get the best players. So, he'll extend offers and a lot of times it's very good people and then he just has other people he wants that committed later and they're better. So
right.
He pulls his scholarship, So to him, it really doesn't matter. I think he's more concerned with the integrity of college football and what it's becoming, because the NCAA has no balls to do anything about it. And I think they have to go back to the idea of sitting out a year if you transfer. That's the only way that this mayhem is going to get under somewhat control.
But I don't know how can you even put that genie back in the bottle once you open it up? Like, I think it would be really hard to go back without there being all this backlash.
If the schools agree that this is how they want to have it play out, it'll happen. But it's up to the ADs and
and the other thing is
the
too,
team, the managers, the conferences. It's up to them how they want to run this. Like,
you
do they
brought
wanna
up
let it go amok?
You brought up the NCAA and their involvement. They should almost have nothing to do with college football anymore. They're bad at what they do. No, I'm serious. I'm not laughing.
I agree.
I mean, they're bad at what they do.
useless.
They don't provide structure. They're late to react rather than getting ahead of things. The discipline,
if they react at all.
Yeah, the discipline is arbitrary and nail some people, let other people get away with murder. Like, there's no rhyme or reason. And the other thing is, they are not a part of the playoff. Like, they're not. The playoff is separate. The NCAA doesn't have anything to do with it. When these conference realignments,
not part of the ranking either.
Nope.
That committee that gets together.
Yeah.
They're not part of that either.
So what do we need them for? When we get into the new playoff structure and the shifting conferences settles down a little bit, I would tell the NCAA, you're not involved. We don't need you. You're not involved. We're going to create our own governing body over the playoff, whatever. Do it that way. Set up your own rules. I don't have any use for them anymore. And they're already distantly involved in football to begin with. What about NIL? What do you want Notre Dame to do there? Do you need them to catch up a little bit? Because I kind of do. What do you make of Notre Dame's NIL?
Does anybody really know what Notre Dame's extends to kids for NIL? I don't. It's an individual institution's discretion as to what they're willing to do. So who really knows if it's effective or not? Like, the best thing that you can offer a kid is, you come to Notre Dame to develop into a man of what you want to be. It's like, if you want to go to football, NFL, we do that. We are good enough that we send kids there. But if you want to get a rounded experience where you're not in a football dorm, you're dorming with other normal, quote, normal students, this is what we do. We're trying to enrich you, in more ways than football. Of course, football works. We send people all the time to the NFL. But, your verbal commitment doesn't really mean anything. You have to sign. And if you sign, you have to commit, just like we're going to commit to try and if we don't talk to you after you've committed, it's because we're trying to get other people to surround you with excellent players. You got to approach it from a realistic point of view. Like, we're out there trying to not only keep you committed, we want to trust that you're in for the experience, the Notre Dame experience, but we also want to continue on with looking at other kids that are going to make you look better and get you to play better. So don't take it as a negative if we're not calling you every moment of the day when we're out there trying to get kids that are going to surround you with superior talent.
Yeah. And there is a give and take there that needs to be understood. If we now live in a reality, which frustrates me, where you verbally commit to a school, but you're taking visits and flirting with everybody else, it needs to be understood. We're not going to quit recruiting your position then. Like, that is a two-way street. I can't just not recruit other running backs if you committed to me, but I know you're taking trips to other campuses. That's hard because you have to be on a high alert and protect every position group at all times in recruiting now. And that's still, even if you do that till signing day, there's no way to know where that briefcase is going to pop up from. Like it's just wild, and you got to be on a high alert for everything all the time.
Right. Yeah. It's just, this NIL stuff is just the icing on the cake as far as this is no longer about academics. This is all about money. And these kids are 16 and 17 and 18 years old that are looking at, six figures before they even graduate high school. It's like, you got to be able to pull the reins in as an institution. You have to come together, all these conferences, and every school has to say, look, we can't continue in this fashion. It's not good for any of us. It might be good for you, but we need to have some kind of a balance to where, you commit, you give your word that you want to play here, then you have to stick to it. Otherwise, you sit out a year. And if you sit out a year, that's no NIL, that's no playing on the field, there's no learning playbooks. It's like they have to take some control back. And I said it at the top how useless the NCAA is, but if they want to make themselves remain in any kind of fashion a figure in the college game, they have to take control of what they can and bring all these guys in from conferences and coaches and athletic directors and say, I think we need to go back to this because this is what's going to ultimately be better for everyone, even the kids.
Yeah. And the other thing I do wonder is, right when NIL started, some teams were off to the races. Some I know were looking for workarounds, around the spirit of NIL, more of a pay for play and all that. I do wonder at some point if we reach a natural calibration where it naturally reels itself in a little bit and stabilizes as people realize it's untenable the way it kind of was trending out of the gates. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I really don't. I just think genies that are out of the bottle are hard to put back in.
Yeah, and I think the kids that are with their families are obviously going to only care about them. They're not going to care what happens to an institution or the game of football. I mean, they're looking out for themselves, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll in turn correct itself just because.
Yeah.
I think it's got to be something to where there's some skin in the game of here's where we are. You have to either commit to us, and if you do, great. If you leave, you have to sit out a year. They just have to get back to that, to have even a little bit more control, because right now they have none.
Yeah. Yep. Nope. You're right about that for sure. All right, let's transition a little bit. Let's go off that and into BYU. How do you feel about it?
Well, BYU, I think somebody in the chat, one of the chats I saw was the average kid's like 24 years old. So that's the average.
Yeah, they've been around. And I do believe I read, I think they returned like 18 starters from both sides of the ball from last year. Yeah. So they do that. What they're best at is frustrating to me because it's what we're worse at. They're best at letting that quarterback throw it around. And they have some talent to do it.
Well, I'll tell you, I like what we saw from Pine against UNC because the offensive line came together, then they gave him time, and he showed, unlike Book, that he will stay in the pocket and look down the field and look to make plays, whereas Book, when he felt the slightest bit of pressure, he was just gone out of here, right?
Gone.
So I think that what we have with Pine is he'll take us as far as the offensive line will let him. They're just what's so crucial. And when you have guys that are there for the whole last year, and they finally looked like they came together a little bit against UNC because they did play a better second half, I think. But they were a little bit bad. Burrell and Lugg weren't great in the first half against them, but they somehow came together. And maybe, what's his name? Reese said, do your effing job, to them. But I'm not really sure what their motivations were that brought them together. But like I said to you once before, last year, it took about 4 games for them to come together. So, they're 2-2 now. They're on probation as far as I'm concerned. The offensive line and Tommy Rees for sure. I think I rinsed myself of him, from the last ball game when he didn't give Buckner a chance at all. I said, I'm done with you. But, if he goes to whatever you were talking about, Georgia Tech, hey, more power to you, buddy.
But I just think that's a step down, man. That's a step down. If that's a rumor out there, I don't believe it. And the reason is, if you have this hard of a time attracting the smart kid talent to Notre Dame, it isn't going to get any better for you at Georgia Tech. I think it's more likely if Reese leaves on his own, it's for the NFL. And then it could be framed as a promotion no matter what, whether it's a quarterback job or an OC job. That's what I think's more likely, because you could just look at it as a promotion no matter what. And that's what I see.
Well, what I see is that there's no way an NFL team is going to bring him in as an offensive coordinator. What's his resume say that they would say, yeah, you're the guy to run an NFL offense? There's nothing there.
The resume you know what it is? The resume tells me that his dad's been in NFL circles his whole life. Everybody likes the family and they think Tommy's good. That's my opinion.
Yeah, but if you're a coach and a general manager, that's not going to be enough to get you to hire a
But
guy.
then why do I keep hearing that all these NFL guys think he's a genius? Why do I keep hearing that praise and seeing that they all think he sees the game different and is a savant? I keep hearing that.
I don't hear that. I'm not hearing any talk from NFL people about how good Tommy Rees is. I mean, I don't hear that.
Good.
I think he'd be much more comfortable with a lesser school, the pressure would be off of him. He's gotten what he could from Notre Dame. He's certainly learned on their dime. And, what more, can he do to prove himself lesser than what he is? He just hasn't shown anything. So, in my opinion, if he goes to a lesser school, Grand Valley State or Appalachian State or whatever they are, any of these schools where you don't have the pressure on you, you don't have to recruit the top talent. I mean, that's going to be the best place for him to learn how to win, because right now he doesn't know that. He doesn't know it, and he doesn't know how to develop kids. There's some real liability with him at the helm, and I think Freeman is coming to that realization, but we'll see how the year plays out for, I think Syracuse is going to bounce Notre Dame. I think Clemson's going to bounce them. USC is going to throttle them. This is a 5-loss team at minimum.
Let me ask you this. That Syracuse game looks interesting to me. It's at the Carrier Dome. It's a unique, weird environment, kind of like playing in a hollowed out can. It's a very weird environment. Now, they are undefeated. However, they do play Clemson before they play Notre Dame. So I do expect them to catch a loss. But that is a tricky ball game. You got to get it. You can't lose these. You can't lose anything till you get to November 5th, and then you play Clemson. BYU, Stanford, UNLV, Syracuse. You need to win all those ball games. Build yourself a bridge to meeting Clemson with 2 losses, them undefeated, chance to ruin their year. That's the road. That's the only roadmap that's acceptable right now. Has to be. You can't drop another game between now and Clemson. No, you can't.
Is the Clemson-Syracuse game, where's that being played?
You know what? I don't know that. That's a good question. I don't know. But I don't see Syracuse beating them. So then I think they have a loss. I don't know. But for Notre Dame, you're talking about 5 losses. It just can't be, man. It can't be. You can't be 7-5.
Well, again, John, the same thing I told you about Dabo Swinney. He took 4 years before he got to a 10-win season. And in between that, it was him struggling with Clemson. And now he's in 5-star guys with regularity, that quarterback. So, who's at fault here? I mean, he didn't have a guy like Reeves running his offense, that's for sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you want to make the next step, Reeves is not the guy to bring you there. He's just not.
Yeah. And I hear, well, he just needs the talent, or, it just has to go right with it. But he's a part of that equation too. Like, you don't get to pick the ingredients and then tell me the meal wasn't good and you don't know why, but you can't. Like, it's so frustrating. I just need to see progress, and it complicates things to me. It complicates things to me that Reese was a recruit, been in Notre Dame forever. Like, the Notre Dame-ness of him complicates this for a lot of people. I think people want Notre Dame guys to succeed. You're predisposed to like a Notre Dame guy. That is an extra layer of complication to me in the way Notre Dame people perceive Tommy Reese. I think we want one of our guys to do well, but I also need to see the results.
That's a valid point.
I need to see the results. I don't care if you graduated from Notre Dame and whatever. Like, that is a complication. So maybe it would be easier for him without that tie somewhere else. Maybe that would actually give him freedom in a way he doesn't have, being the Notre Dame guy as a recruit and a player and under Kelly and all that. I don't know. So give me your final Notre Dame BYU prediction. We get the win in the desert or no?
There's just so much, I love the idea of being the glass half full guy, but I've seen so many seasons. I go back to 66, so I know when I see a team and what they are, like this year, I'm all about championships. And so if this year it doesn't happen, I don't care if it's 5 losses, I really don't. It's championship or bust for me, so if you have a guy like Merriweather that Reese isn't playing, why the fuck not, Just play him, put him in, give the kid a chance before he transfers.
Yep, I get that angle. I've said that too. The one thing you need to I generally speaking, I process things the way you do. The balance here needs to be balancing getting your young guys all this rep and playing time in a year where your goals are pretty much ruined now anyways, if your goal is playoff. And so I just think you gotta, I don't know. I'm frustrated, man. I don't like these 2 losses. It's Marshall. Marshall ruined it. Marshall ruined it. You could live with Ohio State, but the Marshall thing just put a wrench in everything. I don't know. I think Notre Dame gets it done, though. I feel good about it, and I don't know why. I think Notre Dame out-physicals them, turned a corner against North Carolina, going to keep getting better. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I'm thinking that they have a good chance to beat BYU because they're BYU and Notre Dame's Notre Dame. They just have a better talent level.
Yep.
But these guys that are coaching them have to be at the top of their game in order for that to happen. If they're not, then they lose,
Yeah.
And I don't think that's going to happen, but that's the reality, is that you got to have these coaches making these kids believe and not accepting anything less.
Yep. And I hope they turned a corner and play with confidence, and we'll see it. So we'll see. Check it back in with me later in the week if you want.
Okay, John. Have a great day.
Have a good one.
Irish.
Go Irish. Okay, 219, you're going to be up next. Want to get to a couple chats. ND by double digits over BYU. ND's strength of being more physical is not the strength this week. Give me BYU. How could that not apply? If you can run the ball on them like everybody else did, and then you could stop their run and make that quarterback beat you with his arm. I mean, what else is the winning formula then? You know what? I starred some of these chats that were getting funny. Let's see here. Let's go back to the phones. 219. Hello?
What's up, John? How you doing?
What's going on, man? Work it out Wednesday. How are you thinking about all this? Where's your mind at?
My mind's at, well, sorry, I haven't listened to the whole show. I'm working right now, so I'm just jumping on. but if someone already talked about this, but my question is BYU good? Because I watched a little of the games, and then I watched a little bit of that Oregon game last night, and Oregon was just housing them. They were up 38-7 at one point, and I'm just confused because I think they're good, but they haven't looked that good.
Here's what I think I've put together watching a lot of BYU, or as much as possible. I just think they're real kind of inconsistent. Like they're 4-1, but they've had slow starts, mental lapses, penalties, breakdowns, bad tackling. Their field goal kicker's 1 out of his last 6. They're giving up almost 100 yards rushing in the first quarter to Wyoming and Utah State. Like they got housed by Oregon in a lot of ways, which I don't know how much of a surprise that is. You would figure Oregon should have more talent than BYU anyways. But that's why I think there's a great opportunity for Notre Dame. I see a 4-1 team ranked 16th in the AP poll that has a lot of vulnerabilities. And up front is the first one. His phone line got cut off. I promise you I didn't hang up on him in the middle of that. Dropped off. BYU has an outstanding quarterback. He certainly does. Do you know how frustrating it is for me? Adam 219, call back if you want. I'll ring you back in. Your phone dropped off. BYU does have an outstanding quarterback. Here's the thing that's frustrating if you're a Notre Dame fan with that. Think about BYU. They just had a good quarterback, and then they lost him to the league. And then what happened? Now they have another good quarterback. Do you see how that goes? Do you see how that goes, folks? When you're a normal, functioning football operation? This is BYU. This isn't Georgia. It's not Ohio State. It isn't Clemson. It isn't Michigan. It's none of that. It's BYU. And they have no problem going from one NFL quarterback, and now they have this guy who's really good. Irish trending, Drake May is better than Jaron Hall. I love Drake May. How much would you give for Notre Dame to have a Drake May? A guy that is in a redshirt freshman year can be as good as he already is. And you see, that's another point I want to make about Notre Dame's quarterbacking. Even when you get to a point where Notre Dame has a guy that's kind of good, not elite, but kind of good, like Ian Book, it's like for 1 year and then they're gone. Like Drake May's playing well as a redshirt freshman. You're going to have multiple years of him in his prime, further developed down the road. By the time Notre Dame gets there, you have a guy, 1 year you figure out he might be decent, then you have the next year and then he's gone and you have to start it all over. So I don't know, but let me get back to these. Let me get back to this chat. There's something I wanted to bring up. I wanted to look at Jaron Hall. I'm going to give you 202. You're up next, by the way. Jaron Hall, just so you know, he is a really good quarterback. 70% completion rate. Okay. Almost 1,500 yards passing already. Hall, here's the other one. 13th best deep ball passer as far as accuracy. Ranked 13th. Rising NFL guy. People starting to look. Good player. I don't know why Notre Dame can't get him. Somebody says give Audric the ball. That would be a primary plan. Here's the other thing, man. I love the way Estime talks. You listen to the way Estime talks, and he said yesterday, I saw in an interview, you haven't seen anything yet. I'm just starting to reach the surface of what I can be. Like, this isn't the done deal yet. Like, there's more to come from me than this. I love that. Audric Estime has a different mentality than a lot of the guys that come through Notre Dame. Take that as a positive or a negative. I just think a lot of the Notre Dame guys are so nice and humble all the time. I like Estime being like, no, I'm a dude and I'm going to get better and it's not good enough. There's more to come. I love all that. I love that mentality. 202, we're talking to you. Good morning.
Good morning, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been a while. What's new?
Oh, this and that. We're 2-2. John, I know you've been a fan a long time. I think I've been a fan longer, even though I am, of course, only 32 years old. It's just another season, like so many others, of which Notre Dame shows up, right?
Yep.
Again.
Yep. And the bye is an extra, week there for you to sit and marinate over how they're going to show up. And it's a big thing I'm looking at.
We also have, other than, sorry to bring it up, but the 2005 USC game, other than that, we have a perennial issue of coming out sluggish after a bye. Happens every year.
Yep. Now, let's be fair, though. Let's be fair. This is really Marcus Freeman's first shot to come out of a bye. So maybe my mind's tainted by a decade plus of Brian Kelly-ness. I am open to the idea that Freeman will have them ready to go. And one piece of evidence that makes me think that might be possible is they seem to prepare appropriately to go into Ohio State and be ready in that environment. And I'm hopeful if Freeman got them in the right mind frame for that, he should be able to do it for this. Then again, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, you raise a good point. I've just pulled up the box score from last year's post-bye game, which was Southern Cal in Notre Dame Stadium. We won pretty handily.
Yeah, I will say this, though. That ball game was a lot closer for a lot of that game than it ended up looking and feeling. It really was. I just feel like Notre Dame's trending up, and I have a little bit of faith that they're playing with confidence now. They didn't have earlier in the year, found their identity a little bit, knowing this is a work in progress. Nothing's perfect. This isn't an elite operation outfit right now. But I do feel like they maybe found something they could build on, and I expect them to keep it going. It's reasonable. Am I asking for too much? Am I?
You are not.
I don't think so either.
There is a world in which Notre Dame blows BYU out to the point it, saps some of their will to live and ruins the rest of their season. There's another world in which they go up 21-0 in the first 13 minutes of the game.
Welcome to Notre Dame.
And,
welcome to how it is. Man, can I have another bye week?
Well, I think that would be the death knell, frankly, to give them even more time to sit around and get comfy-wumpy. But it's not only, and what's really infuriating, it's not only which set of players shows up, which Isaiah Foskey shows up. It's also which Tommy Rees shows up.
Yeah, is he gonna outthink himself? Is he gonna outthink himself into a big circle and end us back at our starting point? I hope not. Take the map so simple. The map's so simple. You take the minimal progress you had against North Carolina, where the bar was set very low. You exceeded jumping that low bar. Any logical person's going to take what worked, grow off it, cultivate it, build more off it. I have to see more this week. I have to see more. You got to take the next step. That's how this goes.
Take the running back situation. Is there a doubt anymore which of our running backs is the most productive?
Nope. And you bring up a really good point. I know they like using all three. It might be time to pare that down to two and make it Tyree as your jitterbug type guy. Audric Estime is a different kind of animal right now. He is built different physically. More importantly, he is built different mentally. Feed that man. feed him. He is a guy that's going to get stronger. Every time you feed him a ball, it's like another burst of energy for that next blow. He's going to deliver. I'm assuming that's who you're referencing, and I'm excited just bringing up his name.
Oh, I love this kid.
Isn't it great? And it's not just physical. It's the mentality, the way he speaks. It's not just the physical. He's a specimen that I like looking at. I know that sounds weird, but I do. But it's the mentality. He has a different mentality, and I need more Notre Dame guys to start thinking of things like he does.
Well, absolutely. And it isn't just that he's built like a 10-year NFL vet, and he's terrifically talented. To me, it's also he's hard on himself. He's also, in another way, a very humble and respectful young man. He's a great interview. He's not too big for a moment in terms of expecting to be the star, expecting star treatment. He's a delight. And what sort of irks me is we fell backwards into Audric, remember?
Yep. Nope.
And why is that?
Yeah, you're right. Man, you're right on this. Missed out on your target, and then ended up with, it's like, well, we got this, and it could turn into something, and now we love it.
Anyone who saw the kid was like, why were we so in love with that other person who was silent verbal to that other school all year?
Yeah.
Look at this guy. Where is your brain, you guys? The other person he's more finesse. Yeah. I'm sorry. He's not Christian McCaffrey. They think he's going to be. I don't see it. But the fact that they were sort of, oh, hey, Audric, how you doing? We'll call you later. I don't get it. But he's here now. The thing that just befuddles me is the third running back we haven't named is still starting. And the play selection he's given is not optimal. And he certainly is not optimizing it. And if I see him run in to the center of a scrum,
I don't think he's
again.
Is he fully healthy? That's a question I have, because he has not looked the same since the injury in the blue and gold game. And I think it's obvious that there's a little hitch, a delay, or a hesitation. Maybe it's just a reaction to protecting yourself after an injury, but he hasn't been himself. And then you have Estime is playing great. I just think he deserves, from the production, he deserves to get the ball more.
Well, and I think it could be this, that we fully intend to play him to the limit of what is, reasonable for his body, for his safety. We just wait a little bit until the other team is so gassed, and then you just let him pile drive everybody. But it's not as though he can't run through traffic. He's one of those players that, has no regard for human life, right? Yep. He will hit anybody. He will step on anybody.
You know your history of Notre Dame. I know it's not the same thing, but when I see him run, it's vintage the bus. Like, it's mini Jerome, like the physicality, seeking out contact, like you wanting to be the one to deliver the hit, even as the offensive guy. It warms my heart, and it's an edge of toughness Notre Dame's lacked. And I hope it kind of starts spreading in the program, because the way this guy's mind is, I love.
So it becomes, again, which Notre Dame shows up. Do they get serious right away? And then do they stay serious? I think our guys have this horrible tendency to get self-satisfied in, the third quarter, and they dial down, they downshift, and the other team upshifts, and we can't get back to that level. And then the fourth quarter becomes a nail biter. And you know what, though,
it's been a long-term Notre Dame deal. Even with Kelly and whatever, like, can you ever just really, really blow someone out, like by a lot, like by 40, like literally blow them the hell out. Notre Dame never operated that way under Kelly. Even when I thought they could, they didn't. And then again, who are we to be picky about how big wins are right now? You know, we had 2 losses in early September. Maybe I'm an idiot and I'm not entitled to start talking about win margin.
It's not about that. It's about ensuring just a victory. We were a physics take-home problem away from Cal tying up a game. Cal, who is like, would lose to Penn High School, and yes, I'm borrowing from Lou Holtz when I say that, they almost tied up that game. We let them back in, and that's the point. It's not about macho. It's not about style points. It's about, can we just ensure we win? Because if the ball bounces the wrong way,
yeah,
we could lose.
And it almost
it's about
did.
that.
Can I ask
And they
you?
almost did.
Can I ask you? Are you pleased with Freeman so far this year? Like, not outside, you know, but in the season, do you feel like he's doing a good job of getting this back on the right track? Or do you feel like he's struggling as a first-year guy? Or do you think he's finding himself now and they're starting to find some structure?
He's finding himself. His biggest challenge always is going to be loving the players too much.
Yeah, there's a line there. There's a line there where that can get dangerous if you're not sure exactly where it is. That is the risk of being a player's coach.
So, you know, I do think, look, you and I talked about this at least twice. The OC was problematic for the first 2.5 games, and he didn't have any role in that hire at all. And it was structured that way on purpose. So to that extent, you couldn't get too angry at him because he really doesn't have a typical head coach OC relationship there. I think he is figuring out how to coach and not mentor. Because I mean, he's obsessed with mentoring, and that's why we love him.
No, but that's a very, very good delineation point, the way you put it. Learning to coach and not mentor, because I can see how those could blend together on you, and that could be dangerous. That is a very important division to make.
If we lose this game,
no.
I think you realize.
No, you just can't. It's just not an option. Like, you can't. You couldn't lose to Marshall and you did. You couldn't lose to Ohio State and you did. You're out. Like, you're out. It just can't be. You have to play good in the desert, period. Can't be. We can't have it.
Well, he somehow needs, again, so much of this comes down to which Tommy Rees shows up. Is it the Tommy Rees that called the same run play 6 times in a row with the wrong running back? Or is it the guy who called some really nifty wheel routes?
But you would think to yourself, wouldn't you think to yourself, though, building off what worked against North Carolina is the path. You can't regress and go back behind that to be worse. Like, that's not how this should logically go. It's perfectly fair for me to expect you to build off the North Carolina successes. And if we don't see it, it's a major red flag after you had a half a month to put it together.
Well, Tommy worked for the former guy, and the former guy is the king of overthinking. And it was always, to borrow from the Princess Bride, you know, the character Fezzik. That's what you want me to think, but I'm going to do the reverse of the reverse of the thing that you think I'm going to do. And I think that rubbed off on Tommy. And he might have thought himself into a corner of, well, I can't do anything like what I did against UNC. I can't do anything too exotic because we haven't practiced it enough.
Yeah.
I guess I should go back to the Cal game plan.
But life isn't this hard. Football's so simple at a basic level. Sometimes I feel like Notre Dame overthinks it. They really do. Like with just the wide receiver thing, like, get your athletes, start with throw ball, catch ball. Like, we overthink it. I'm serious. I know I'm not a coach and I don't act like I know the X's and O's and how complicated it is to get plays to work. I know I don't know all that. At the same time, I do know for sure Notre Dame makes it harder than it has to be. Look around the country. Teams that don't have our talent or anywhere near it run smoother offenses that get things done. Come on, man. Come on, let's go.
Can you imagine Tobias at USC right now?
All 6'5" of that athletic frame. You know, they'll get him introduced, catch and fade, throws to the end zone the first week.
He
like,
would have 4 touchdowns.
You know, yeah,
He would have 4 touchdowns.
Now, did you see Tommy got asked that? And I was surprised. Tommy got asked that directly, and his answer was, we had a set of plays structured for him against North Carolina, but they never presented themselves based off what the defense gave, so it never came to fruition. But he actually said we had we had plays set up for him. I don't know. I don't know what to make. Like, there's nothing North Carolina did all day that made you try and throw it to the 6'5" guy. I find that hard to believe.
I do as well. And the difference between a good coach and a great coach is this canard of taking what the defense gives you. Like, no, you give the defense all they can take. And you say, let's go.
Yeah. And the other thing is, it's like you give what the defense gives you. Well, what if I don't want to just sit there and accept what they give me? What if I want to do what I want to do and go right through you? What about that? I hate that. It's like, well, you got to take what they give you. Why don't you go take what you want to take and not care what they want to do? How about that as a plan?
Yeah. So, you know, Tobias will leave.
Oh, man. See, that's another issue. And, oh, man, you bring up good points. That's a whole nother issue. You get into this no sit-out transfer dynamic. Yet you have a no transfer dynamic there. If a guy's not happy, they're gone, and they play the next year. How do you juggle that as a coach? You got to keep guys happy. It's tough. You bring up another good point.
How, you know, is this a situation of and I do think he's a very nice young man. His family is lovely. You know, his dad's burnt end story will live in infamy in college football forever. I don't think he's a problem. I don't think he's an ego case. But maybe he said to the coaches, like, you said I was going to play. You really wanted me. I'm not playing because you're obsessed with Mr. Zero, who has 6 drops already. I have to do what's good for me. I'm just going to transfer. And they know that. And they're like, well, then fine. Why are we going to play him? We have to develop somebody else.
But that's just such an unhealthy dynamic to start getting into. It is. And I think Notre Dame is somewhat insulated from the instant transfer deal more than most places because of the academics. And a lot of the guys Notre Dame gets are there for more than just football, buying into the mission behind it, the Catholic mission, family stuff, you know, academics. So they're a little more insulated than some schools are for the instant transfer. I'm mad, I'm out of here. But it's still something you need to consider. And Notre Dame certainly cannot afford to lose any more depth in the wide receiver room.
And then, you know, the flip side of that, and let's cling on to this. Maybe it's, we knew this kid is Randy Moss coming in. We wanted to just get a little, you know, get the playbook in there, give him some time.
But here's but wait.
Our nuclear weapon.
Wait. Well, it's a dangerous time in the world to be talking about that, my friend. Here's the problem. Here's the problem with that. Notre Dame is not in the luxury position to be picky about the guys they run out of wide receiver, being able to do everything you want them to do perfect right away before they see the field. This is not Ohio State's wide receiver room. Notre Dame does not have the luxury to expect young guys to be perfect at everything before they play. You need a spark. You need a guy that can make plays and give you energy out of the wide receiver room. And that's where I push back on not ready, got to develop. You're not getting production that's real life. You need a spark. You need a spark. Give
They've
the
always
kid a
thought
shot.
that way, though. That's not going to change.
Give the kid a shot. Jeez. Like, I just don't think it's that hard. Imagine what a hero he'd be if you throw a jump ball to him and he catches it right away, ball one. Everybody loves him. Everybody's happy. Let it be this week.
I've been saying for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. The kid's 6'5", and he looks like that. Just send him.
No. You nope. You can't do that. You know why? Because you need 5'9" Braden Lindsay being your jump ball guy, not the guy who's 6'5". I want the guy who's 5'9" going and getting that jump ball. Things like that just make no sense to me. Let the 6'5" guy jump up and get it, not the guy my size.
Well, think about. I mean, this is possibly too inside the beltway, if you will, but we always try to give upperclassmen as many chances as we can stomach to get drafted, because draft picks are another important statistic. The fact that we are still clinging to the most number of draft picks, we're in the top 5 of active players, that means something. And
it does.
I tell you, Braden, he breaks my heart. Why?
I know.
Why, John?
I've been waiting.
Can't he catch a ball? I just don't get it.
I've been waiting. It's like, this is the year. This is the week. No. This is the year. This is the week. He's finally healthy. Let's see it. You're getting an end around handoff, and that's about it. And I'm upset. I've been waiting for it forever, and it just never comes. It doesn't come. It's not coming.
So how much longer do we wait? How many more drops can we
until the end of the year, and he's gone, because there's no other wide receivers to put in there. So I think it's his last year. So after the USC game, I'm not sure whether that's going to make me not able to eat Thanksgiving or not that weekend, but then he'll be gone. But what else are you going to do? They don't have the depth. There is nobody else to play. There isn't. There's not.
Well, yeah. So this could be Marcus could make this game a real turning point, and he seems to have a very particular focus, even more than before. The 8:30 bed check, the keeping them on Eastern time zone, sounds like very short reins, REINS reins, and I hope they know this is a watershed. No more messing around. No more bare minimum. No more missed tackles, that kind of thing. It'll be apparent pretty quick. This will be one of those, first 6 minutes of the game, you'll see which team showed up.
Yep.
And I hope it happens. I don't like watching Marcus fail.
No.
I can't even believe people are already posting.
I know.
He's out of there next year. What?
I know.
No,
it can't, for so many practical reasons. That is totally out of the realm of possibility in every single way, other than if there was an off the field, issue with something that happened. But on field stuff, no way. Totally unrealistic. Talk about Reese all you want, but Freeman, absolutely not. Like, no. That's just off the table. And I see the people like, I'm already off Freeman. I don't like, it ain't going to work. I already don't like the vibe. The same people didn't like Kelly's vibe ever either. Now we did the opposite, and halfway through year one, you don't like that. Who do you want to coach Notre Dame? A cyborg computer robot that's perfect? A lot of the people that are already off Freeman were off Kelly too. So what do you want? What do you want then? I can't make these people happy either way then.
Exactly. And
I can't win.
I'm worried about how early the bye was. I'm trying to remember a year in which the bye didn't occur around midterms.
You know what? I thought about that too. Is it because of Vegas? Is that the reason? But I thought that too. It was kind of,
but I don't love it.
It was early. Now oh man, you and I think a lot alike in a lot of ways, and you should be concerned, by the way, by that fact. I thought about that too, and
everyone who knows me knows I'm insane. Don,
yeah, it's like, but when you're on my wavelength, you have problems, sister. But if I was nervous about the early bye too, but then I came around to think, you know what? Maybe in another year, I wouldn't like the positioning of this, but being where we're at with the quarterback and the injury and having to adjust on the fly, maybe it is better to have an extra week sooner rather than later to be able to get Pine even further situated in the offense and comfortable. So maybe that's an angle that can make you feel a little better about it being early. Take it as a free week to get Pine more established.
One would hope, and not a time to eat cheeseburgers of your own.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. So what do you think here? Do we get it done in the desert? What's your prediction?
(34-31) Irish.
Ooh, that's too close. Come on. I'm going to have a bottle of Pepto-Bismol all night. That's too close. I don't like it. I'm going to have my fancy glass, for bourbon or something, and then just pour the Pepto in there and sip it slowly. That's too close. I don't like it. I need a bigger margin than that. I need a bigger margin.
Well, I cannot tell a lie, John. I don't think it's going to be easy.
Nothing's easy. Nothing's easy for us.
BYU had 2 interceptions in their last game. And Drew Pine sometimes doesn't see things. So we could have a pick six situation.
Don't speak that into existence. Don't you dare speak that into existence. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me.
And and if I'm BYU, I know who I'm throwing on all day long. Sorry.
Yeah.
Love him, but sorry.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Let me ask this before I let you go. You ever get to any games? I'll be there for Stanford. I'm going to the 77 championship reunion in the Monogram Room. So that's going to be the day of the Stanford game. I'll be there for that. And then I'll be in town all weekend for Clemson. Get in a house, going to just be there all weekend and do that. So if you're going to be around, let me know.
I absolutely will. That's a very kind invitation. Meantime, get excited for hockey. I think our boys might do it this year.
There you go.
And go Irish soccer. Go Irish soccer.
Beautiful. Well, thanks a lot for the call. Enjoy the ball game, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Bye-bye, Don.
Take care. I'm telling you what, sometimes the way she thinks about football scares me because there's a lot of stuff that rattles around in her wavelength that sometimes I think only I worry about. It's a little bit wild. Mikey Poles, I think the last satisfying blowout was Miami and Soldier Field. Let me tell you about that game, folks. Jacob, thanks so much. $10 super chat. Let me finish the Miami thought, then we'll get to Jacob's super. Here's what I loved about that Miami game in 2012. Couple things. One is Notre Dame was undefeated. It was 2012. Good year for us. Ugly offensively again, but the defense gave up 9.8 points a game that year. You want to know how Notre Dame's been able to do anything? It hasn't been the offense. That 2012 defense gave up under 10 points per ball game overall. Okay. Wonderful defensive effort all year. So we were undefeated. Miami was down. I believe Al Golden was the coach. Miami was down. And then it was at Soldier Field. So I didn't have to drive from the Chicago suburbs all the way to Notre Dame. All I had to do was go right into the city, go to Soldier Field, and you could buy beer there. It's a pro stadium. So I got to look at Notre Dame beat the hell out of Miami while they're down. And I was able to drink beer all night with my friends. It was one of the best Notre Dame experiences I had. But to be able to watch us kicking the crap out of them and drink, it was beautiful. Loved it. Loved it. Jacob, $10. Appreciate that. Maybe crazy. I still believe we have as good a team as last year. The only difference is we didn't get it done versus Marshall, but we did versus Toledo. We could beat BYU like Wisconsin. Listen, I thought of this. Think about what would happen if we beat Marshall, played horrible, like played the way we played, totally garbage, played terrible, but kick a field goal at the end and end up escaping and winning. And the Ohio State result stays the Ohio State result. Notre Dame's ranked 6th, 7th, 8th in the country right now, and all this discussion's different. And all of us are talking about every game fighting for our playoff lives. That's the difference. That's the difference. If Notre Dame found a way to do the Ball State, Toledo, play bad at home, but win it, we're 6, 7, 8, still in the mix for the playoff. People are talking about it like the Marshall thing just killed it. It just killed it. It's the one that couldn't happen. And I was thinking about this last night. In my preseason shows, previews for the season, we were going through, win-loss record, the tough games and all that. One of the things that I made sure I pointed out every time was, with all the changes, new quarterback, personnel, new coaches, all these changes, I said it really wouldn't surprise me at all if Notre Dame loses a dumb game this year to a team they shouldn't lose to. And I said that multiple times. And I followed it up by saying, I'm not saying that's okay. I'm going to hate it. But when you have the instability you have in a year one of a regime and all this coaching changeover, that's how one of these sneaks up on you. And then you add in the fact you got a quarterback problem and it just happened. There's nothing we could do now. Nothing you could do now. Here's my goal now. Get to Clemson with 2 losses. That is your next opportunity to build legitimate excitement about all this. You roll over BYU, Stanford, UNLV, find a way to beat Syracuse in that weird dome, and then you build up as much steam as can be built up for you having 2 losses playing Clemson. You got to build that up as much as you can. And I don't know how you guys are thinking about it, but I want Clemson to be undefeated when Notre Dame plays them. I think that's in Notre Dame's benefit on all angles. If you beat them, well, then you beat an undefeated top 5 playoff team or whatever, and everybody feels better about it. Fine. And if you lose to them, well, then it's like Notre Dame already has 2 losses and they're undefeated and really good, so they probably should lose to them. Fine. Jason says the lucky lefties predicting an ND loss this weekend. I just can't have it. I just can't have it. I just can't. This can't be the one you can't do it. I just feel pretty good. I think Notre Dame finds a way to bully them and wins up front, and that dictates the game. And if not, I'm going to be horrifically disappointed. And you thought things were bad after Marshall, you lose to BYU, things are going to get dark. Things are going to get dark, especially coming out of a bye that should give you more time to get things settled down. No way, man. No way. I need you to come out ready. So that being said, folks, we just about reached 2 hours. I'm going to be posting the official BYU pregame show regular video. That'll go out tonight. So we have the chat this morning I wanted to get through, and then just the bullet points on the BYU preview will go out tonight. Also, stay tuned to the Fighting Irish Wire. I have a couple interesting articles coming up about the BYU game, and I have something fun I'm doing with Notre Dame and NIL for the USA Today Fighting Irish Wire paper. So keep an eye out for that, folks, okay? Everybody, thanks for being here. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the calls, all of it. We'll see you on Twitter, and then stay tuned for that preview to drop tonight. Later, folks. Have a good Wednesday.